What an incredible panel, right? Could we get a more exciting cast together? Welcome everyone. 5 incredible actors, 1 incredible storyteller. I thought I'd start by asking you all, what was that one? I mean, from your experience in long form storytelling, I think Chitrangda is the only one who hasn't done a show. But Chitrangda, you have worked in Modern Love, you have worked in the streaming world. What was that one thing that you discovered from your experience in long form storytelling that you didn't expect?
Hi everyone, firstly. I really think it's amazing that we have film students here. So, it's like हम अपनी बिरादरी में हैं. So it's a good feeling. There's a lot of film students here today, right? What? Woo! Yay! I don't know, Rajeev. I felt that the one thing which is very important when you're doing the OTT and anything like this is content.
Yeah.
I don't think you have any crutch
Yeah.
of the long format. You don't have a song and dance, you don't have the glam, you don't have these long, wide, whatever shots. It's just you, it's just the face, it's you, your performance, that moment. And if on that small, if you're watching it on a phone or a laptop, if you can catch the attention and you can get the audience on your side, that's a very big deal. And it's not just the acting, it's the writing, it's the direction, it is everything. So I feel it is far more exhausting for talent when you're doing OTT, as much as probably it doesn't get its fair share of this thing. But I feel we get away with a lot when we're doing the long format. That's the difference I felt,
Okay.
You really had to be on your toes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do the rest of you agree? What was it about the long form, the series form of storytelling that surprised you, which you perhaps didn't expect it to be, and maybe was a refreshing change from traditional film storytelling?
Yeah, I was an avid movie watcher,
Yeah.
especially till about 2010 or 11. I had this mantra when I was studying at the film school that watch one film every day. So I used to watch one film a day for years,
Right.
until I saw Breaking Bad. That's where I was like, you can't put this thing down. What is the deal? It's such a blessing because the kind of audacity that those writers have taken, the kind of brave choices those writers and directors have taken, you could never take those choices in a cinema. The payoff is way too long. It's happening after 4 seasons. You're invested for 4 years, 5 years. It's incredible. That's the power of storytelling, and I wish we get there.
And from your own experience, Vijay, from working in the heart, from working on one of the shows, what did you do? Were you prepared for exactly the experience that you had?
Yes, although I have not done a character which is recurring season after season, maybe Mirzapur,
Right.
but we'll watch what happens when that happens. But exploring a character over the span of 8 hours is far more satisfying for an actor than to do it in an hour and a half. Although I love both equally and I can't take a side.
I love how you said maybe Mirzapur. Like, even here you don't want to give away too many spoilers, no? Sobhita, Jaideep?
थैंक यू सो मच. मुझे पता नहीं था कि आप लोग ऐसे लाइव ऑडियंस होने वाला है. आई गॉट स्केयर्ड सडनली. बाहर से मैंने कहा ओह अच्छा.
अब मैं कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा, मैं चुपचाप
हाँ,
बैठूंगा. अब मैं कुछ बोल नहीं पाऊंगा.
हाँ थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है. बट जो मुझे लगता है सबसे बड़ा डिफरेंस जो लॉन्ग फॉर्म को लेके है स्टोरी टेलिंग की, वो मुझे लगता है वो लिबर्टी सबसे ज़्यादा राइटर्स को मिलती है सबसे पहले. बिकॉज उनके पास उन किरदारों को ना सिर्फ 2-4 फिल्म में होते हैं, वो स्ट्रक्चर के हिसाब से हीरो हीरोइन विलन काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन, 1-2 कॉमिक कैरेक्टर्स. बट जब आप 8 घंटे की 10 घंटे की कहानी कहते हैं और वो भी सीजन वाइज कहते हैं, तो आपके पास बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस हैं राइटिंग में, जहां आप बहुत सारे किरदारों को इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकते हैं, पैरेलल ट्रैक चला सकते हैं. सो आई थिंक दैट लिबर्टी, दैट फ्रीडम जो राइटर्स को मिलती है, दैट कम्स टू अस. एंड एज विजय सेड कि जब आप को पता है कि 8 एपिसोड तक ये चलना है, 10 एपिसोड तक चलना है, यू एज एन एक्टर आपको थोड़ा सा उसके ऊपर उसके ग्राफ के ऊपर थोड़ा ज़्यादा ध्यान रखना पड़ता है. बिकॉज इन टर्म्स ऑफ शूटिंग आपको पता है कि हम लोकेशन के हिसाब से कर रहे होते तो फॉर एग्जांपल पहले दिन 6th एपिसोड का बहुत ही कोई मुश्किल सीन है और आप वो कर रहे हो. दैट हैपेंड टू मी ड्यूरिंग पाताल फर्स्ट डे 6th एपिसोड. सो आई थिंक आपकी टीम बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है उस वक्त कि आपको एटलीस्ट कुछ टाइम तक वो एक तरह से बना के रखें कि आपको किस तरह से आपका ग्राफ दिखने वाला है. आई थिंक वो सबसे बड़ा डिफरेंस है. एज एन एक्टर यू फील कि इट्स रियली हार्ड टू कीप दैट ग्राफ ऑफ दैट कैरेक्टर कंटिन्यू.
Sobhita?
Good morning, everyone. I am an actor that has hugely benefited from my work in the OTT space, and I am of the opinion that एक character की screen time सबसे important चीज़ नहीं है. Like there are times I watch some films where someone comes in for a little bit and they leave such an impact. But in my experience, finding such characters for women in films is a little like a lot less, and OTT is a little unafraid to give that space. So I have benefited from it and I see the value in it. And obviously when a character is fleshed out and it's better developed, the actor has more to play with, and no matter how screwed up the character, how overtly happy, how grey, there is a way to understand the reasons for why they are that way. And I think OTT gives space for that. In films it's so quick that you don't have the time to invest or understand कि कोई कुछ कर रहा है तो क्यों कर रहा है. There is no time to explore the reasons. In shows there is that space, so that is something I think is a huge value addition to an actor's performance and to the screenplay. So it's indulgent, which is beautiful.
Tamannaah, do you sort of concur with her on that?
Yeah, I think everything that almost everyone said is exactly what I had in mind, in the sense that I think OTT definitely, in the long format, gives space more to writers and actors. And for me, because the kind of commercial cinema I had done before, the kind of parts were limited. Not like commercial cinema doesn't offer you, well-written parts, but I do feel with OTT you get the chance to do a real, you can completely go different from what you've ever done before. And that's why I wanted to explore OTT, and I wanted to explore long format specifically.
Sure. Milan, as the sole storyteller on this platform, and I would imagine, they're all saying that for writers and for directors is there a different rhythm? I mean, you've been a filmmaker for the longest time. You've just made your first series. Is there a different rhythm when it comes to writing or shooting a show?
So for me, actually finding the shooting rhythm was a challenge, because ours is a slightly elaborate show with 11 actors and I think 43 or 44 locations. So I had to dig deep and use all my experience to craft each day to have an output of 6 minutes as compared to 1.5 minutes, which I'm used to. So that was that was something I wanted to see if I could do well, if I had it in me to achieve that smoothly. So we worked a lot on shot design and a lot on prep. So I just told my actors that just don't forget your lines. Just help me with that, because I've got too much going on. I can't have you fumble. So that turned out well. And in my mind, when I started my journey as a director, my boss Mahesh Bhatt told me, he said, son, he said, every once in a while do something for yourself. And it was quite liberating to work with 11 actors I had not worked with before, to not have a superstar to help me reach my audience. I think they learned a little bit from me, I learned a little bit from them. So for me, that was the best part. That was the beauty, that I could do this the way I wanted to. And it's just that, as I said to myself when I signed on, a lot of people said, why are you doing this? And I said, no, that's not the right question. The right question is, why not?
Right. It's interesting what you said. I wanna ask, and this is for everybody. In the West, I think first HBO and subsequently Netflix, they kind of changed, they upped the game in terms of storytelling. And it took that unconventional, not linear television to come and do that. Do you think that the streamers here have achieved that to that degree? I mean, I know it's still nascent in India. We're only a few years into it. But do you believe that the game has been upped in terms of storytelling because of the presence of the streamers?
Absolutely. In fact, I was discussing this just before we came here, and I said this is like a breeding ground for talent, because there's no limit, there are no boundaries, and the more out of the box you think, probably the more appreciated you are, and it has that, you might call it titillation, or that kind of something about it that makes you want to watch it, so at least you get a chance to try something. So definitely, and it's really making even mainstream look at their content and re-look at it, and when you sit and compare, there's definitely a lot of quality, and thank God for this, because it's really pushing us, and that's what I feel. Yeah.
The rest of you agree?
Yeah, as much as it is at the nascent stage, I think we had a great start with Sacred Games. It set the tone for what are the potential, what is the potential of the market. At the same time, the kind of stories that are coming out, and the kind of directors, new actors that are coming out, it wouldn't have been possible with the mainstream and just with theaters. It wouldn't have been, the business would not have allowed this to happen. So I'm thankful that this is happening, because it creates a very healthy competition. It creates a breeding ground for great talent to come out, and it doesn't, you don't have to go past certain gates or certain kind of checks and gates to get there, and therefore it becomes a bit democratic. I think it's overall going to keep everybody in check. And like a show that The Hard, I don't think a show like that would be something that could be made 10 years ago,
I strongly feel that a story, more than anything, wants to be seen and wants to be heard. And different stories are suited for different formats. Maybe, I don't even know if it's a good example, but maybe a film is like a Boeing 777 and a show is like a rail gadi. दोनों के अपने नशे हैं. So I guess really what you're seeking as an experience.
I just feel like the West, of course, we've seen what they do with streaming. I don't know what the situation is right now, but I know one thing that I really hope the makers now think of making content from the Indian perspective, because our audiences are different. I know most creative people like to say हम अपने लिए करते हैं, हम हमारे लिए करेंगे, ये करेंगे, but I feel like there is a audience, which is India, which is a very big country, wants to watch very, very different things from the West. And I feel like we should not actually feel the pressure of taking any inspiration from there, rather take inspiration from our own stories. And we have so much culture and so much there are great stories in our own, in mythology that haven't been tapped yet, which could make great long formats. So I feel like I hope they're not inspired, and I hope they just go ahead and do something completely like Desi yaar. I love watching. I felt like when I wanted to do a show like Aakhri Sach, I knew it was based on something that was, it had impacted a lot of people and had almost scared off a lot of people. But these are our stories, and I feel like I don't think we should be defined by any format, any way of saying it, or if someone has done it in a certain way, we don't need to do it the same way.
So what I want to say is, I want to play the devil's advocate here, and I want to say, some people do believe that the streamers, the ecosystem of streaming is not terribly different, or it's not becoming terribly different from traditional film, where there is an over-reliance or suddenly a need for star power over even content, over material. Is that fair? Yes, there will be the exceptional shows driven by material and right actors being cast, but there is also increasingly, like the theatrical business, where you get a star and it's greenlit, and maybe that star isn't necessarily the absolute best person for that part, but more and more, and maybe Milan can throw light on this as well, when filmmakers are pitching shows to streamers, the first question's asked who's in it, which is exactly what what continues to happen in the theatrical business. Is that fair?
It is a little bit of a challenge. If you have a legacy of work, it helps a little bit to, bring in people who are deserving and should be out there making a name for themselves. But I'd like to digress a little bit and go back to the earlier point where I feel that, there's so many talented people here who've begun or embarked on a fabulous journey, met with so much success. But I think what I found missing was that much as I'm willing to adapt to their choices and their feedback, I find that they sometimes struggle a little bit with what I call the classic Hindi film approach, whether it's a Salim Javed zone, or whether it's the Bachchan-esque mold, or whether it's music. Sometimes I find that I think there's a marriage to be had here, where the two can really meet, and because as Tamannaah said, that essentially our audience is the same. Essentially they will still dance to a song from Dawn. They will still dance to Govinda Ala Re Ala. And somewhere I think we all need to accept that, and also accept that there are writers. I've adapted a book for the first time in my life written by an LA-based blogger for Sultan of Delhi. There are writers, there are thinkers, there are collaborators and of course actors who sometimes have a slightly different point of view. So this amalgamation, I think, is still not complete. It's still a little divided between what I would consider really fit for OTT, and I'd fill it with masala and lots of things. And if I was to do something niche, then I would probably lean on a much younger writer who has an unusual take.
If I may, sir, I just like to sort of say something about that. Last evening, Vijay and I were at a common friend's birthday, and there was music, and we were both dancing to Tera Hone Laga Hoon, and like full-on Bollywood songs and enjoying it. That is a reality, but also a reality is the fact that before I went to that party, I was watching a podcast on YouTube that really entertained me. And I know I have a lineup of shows I really want to watch, and I can't wait to go first day, first show for some of the biggest films that are coming out soon. These are all realities that coexist. I don't think shows से हम वो मांगते हैं जो हम फिल्मों से हमें मिलता है. The ask is different and the joy is different, and I think we have the capacity to enjoy different things from like what I expect from a friend versus partner versus parent is different. Similarly with entertainment, I feel like some inspire, some comfort, some are like good companions on your drive to work. So I feel like it's important for all kinds of content to exist and not for them to actually merge into one language, because I feel like then it becomes just one way of communicating with the audiences. I feel like you're conditioning them to only see that as entertainment.
Does anyone want to add to this? I want to say here, even though I posed the question, that one of the most amazing things also is the kind of films that can get made, and hopefully, because I'm just giving an example. I was talking to maybe a little over a year ago, before you all made Jaane Ja, I remember speaking to Sujoy Ghosh, and I remember him saying the cast I'd really like, the men I'd really like with Kareena are Jaideep and Vijay. And I don't think it was a Netflix deal yet. He had written the script and it was a film that he wanted to make. And I was like, that's incredible, but good luck. I mean, good luck making this film. Good luck. We know the ecosystem. We know that's a hard one. And because it was a streamer, it could be pulled off. And I'm guessing a little later, it won't even need a streamer, because this is no longer a question of, these are streaming stars. And that's incredible, I think, also about streamers, that you could have a film like Jaane Ja with that incredible cast, which is the right cast, top-lining a film like that. 5 years ago, that probably wasn't going to be possible, right?
मैं एक छोटा सा सब जब बातें सुन रहा था तो मुझे एक विजुअल याद आ रहा था. पहले शादियों में पंगत में नीचे बिठा के खाना खिलाया जाता था. तो वो जो बनाते थे वही लेके आएंगे, 2 डिश हो 4 डिश हो. अब आपके ऊपर है कि आप उनको खाना चाहते हैं, मन मार के खाना चाहते हैं या अच्छे से खाना चाहते हैं. आज क्या हो गया ना, बुफे लग गया है. आपकी चॉइस है कि आप जाके उठाओगे कि आपको इस पूरे खाने में से क्या खाना है. सो आई थिंक दैट्स हाउ आई सी दिस थिंग. आपको आपके पास इतने सारे ऑप्शंस हैं. एज एन ऑडियंस आप ये भी समझे कि ऑडियंस का जो टेस्ट है या उनकी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो बढ़ रही है. क्योंकि जो अगर हम यहाँ बैठ के ब्रेकिंग बैड देख रहे हैं तो मेरे गांव में भी देख रहे हैं लोग, एंड दे एक्चुअली टॉकिंग अबाउट. सो उनका क्या होगा जब वो चाहे अनचाहे वो दोनों कंटेंट को कंपैरिजन करना शुरू करेंगे. और अगर उनको कुछ नया नहीं मिल रहा है दे विल स्विच ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट. तो आई थिंक वो होगा क्योंकि दायरे बढ़ रहे हैं.
You know, the other thing about, yes, please, Milan, of course.
I think this is exactly what I was saying when both of you spoke, that this interchange, you know, where I feel that, and I was talking more about what happens on set and how a performance is molded or collaborated upon, is something that, you know, actors on OTT, primarily on OTT, can pull from 30, 40 years of experience on big films, and vice versa. Filmmakers who have come from the film world will sit and listen to these actors and these writers and say, "No, sir, but we think it should happen this way," and that's the confluence, you know, which is interesting to see his take or her take or my take. They're different, but we're in the same business, which is where we're headed.
क्या मैं एक बात बोल सकती हूँ? ये शायद लॉकडाउन के पहले, बिफोर द पैंडेमिक दिस हैपेंड, I was narrated a story by a person who's never made anything. So he's basically never made anything. And he narrated a long format to me, which went on to become November Story on Hotstar. And it was his first time directing anything. And what if we were to flip the narrative? Why not look at it from the point of view of creators? When they need an actor that's bankable to put out their vision, which they might not get the opportunity in the case when there's someone who's absolutely having no market. Because essentially, this is still a commercial platform. You need money to make this. Nobody can sit at home and make it for their own personal viewing. So, in my case, what happened is I got the opportunity to work with somebody who's never made anything before, and he got the opportunity to work with an actor who's done some credible work, and that would let his work shine through in front of so many people. And to be honest, it is still one of my better long formats, and it's a Tamil show. So I really feel like, you know, कभी-कभी हम चीज़ को एक ही नज़रिए से देखते हैं और उस तरीके से, you know, it might seem कि one person is benefiting, but it doesn't work like that. The entire ecosystem benefits. And that's what we need. We need the entire ecosystem to benefit so that we actually make, you know, we make things that are creatively driven. So, yeah.
That's a great point you made, Tamannaah, about also the fact that it's a you know, it's a Tamil show. I feel like also what happened, and probably COVID was the trigger in terms of just discovering material in languages that we were not traditionally watching. You know. Of course, there are cinephiles who've been watching films in Malayalam and French films and Spanish films. But I feel like just the number of regular viewers, I know my parents were watching stuff in foreign languages and in you know, Tamil, Telugu, which they would never have sort of discovered. So, you know, it's what the director of Parasite said on stage while winning the Oscar, right? It's those 1.5-inch subtitles will introduce you to the rest of the world. So that's another big achievement. I've been told I need to wrap. I just want to ask each of you all, can you all remember, each of you, give me one anecdote from the set where while you were shooting, which kind of made you take a pause and say, you know, ye traditional film set pe nahi hota, or in a traditional film, while making a traditional film, we wouldn't have been able to either do this or this wouldn't have happened, which kind of made you realize the privilege of being able to work, the privilege of what streaming affords you.
So I have I think the first few minutes of me in the hard is just me doing nothing. just looking at phones, just looking at people, barely anything, no drama, you don't know who this person is. Just the idea that this person can just be, and people will watch somebody just do nothing.
Right.
Nothing important, nothing significant, nothing dramatic, not a big movement, not a big dialogue, nothing, mostly silences. So I think something, a luxury like that can only. I was like, इतना लंबा शूट कर रहे हैं, but रखेगी नहीं, कोई चांस ही नहीं है, ये सब जाएगा एडिट पे. But she kept it all.
Kept it. Lovely.
I think for me, it was the first time I was doing something with another director, with Supan Verma.
Yeah.
And there was a day when sort of I shot the first half of the day, and I had to hand over to him for the second half of the sequence. And I was kind of sort of naturally moving towards the set, and I stopped myself outside and I said, no, this is the Lakshman Rekha.
Right.
You know, now it's over to him and his sensibilities and how he speaks to the actors.
Correct.
So that collab for me was very fresh, and I had to let go of a lot of things that were pulling me back and saying, no, you need to go and see what he's doing, and I just left it. So, you know, collaborating with another filmmaker
Share
has
the
been
heavy lifting.
fantastic.
Right.
Actually, to what both said, I strongly believe that the credit for a really wonderful story goes a lot to the writer,
Yeah.
to the director. What an actor essentially does is bring meaning to the silences, bring truth to the silences, and it is only in the streaming space that the camera stays. And in those moments, you just bloom. I've had moments like this on Made in Heaven where I am processing what is happening as a character, and it's like my mind is thinking, what do I do next? How do I don't know, get ahead? And because the camera stayed on me, did the audience maybe feel connected or one with the character? Whether you like a protagonist or dislike a protagonist, you should still understand their intentions. And I think the streaming space allows for that.
I totally agree. In fact, when he was saying, that it just does so much for the actor if you just give them silences. And that's the one thing that you don't get when you do a film. You just don't have the time. And this for me happened in Hazaro, my first film when I did. And I remember the first scene that I shot had no dialogues. It's in that guest house where it's just quiet, when she's waiting for KK's character to come and meet her. And I was like, इसमें कोई dialogues ही नहीं है. नहीं पर कुछ तो कुछ बोलना चाहिए something. And I was just so nervous. My first time in front of the camera and everything. First time in front of the film camera. Forget camera. So I think even when I go back and watch it even now, it does so much. And that is the luxury that you have when you do, like an OTT. And yeah, it's just amazing. That's the one thing probably that films don't give you. You don't have the luxury, like you said. Yeah, absolutely.
हाँ मतलब काफ़ी सारा बोल दिया गया है, यही सब चीज़ें होती हैं जनरली. बट मुझे लगता है कि मेरे साथ ये वाक़ये होते रहे. वासेपुर के दौरान आई एम श्योर बजट नहीं था क्योंकि पैसे नहीं थे, दिए नहीं गए थे, और कहीं तो बनारस में लॉज में रह रहे थे. इट्स नॉट नथिंग टू डू विद द सेट्स, बट सुबह उठते ही सबसे पहले बनारस में स्ट्रीट फूड बहुत फेमस है. तो सबको वो खाना पेट भर के इसलिए खाना होता था क्योंकि शायद पता नहीं था कि दोपहर का खाना कहीं मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा. तो आई थिंक वो रेगुलर सेट्स पे नहीं होता कि आपको ये नहीं पता हो कि ऐसे एक फिल्म बनने जा रही है और आपको पता नहीं कहाँ शूट करने वाले हैं, किस इंटीरियर्स में बनारस के जाने वाले हैं. तो पर वो यू सी द पैशन ऑफ ऑन दोज सेट्स. उन सारे जो भी विपरीत परिस्थितियाँ हैं उनके बाहर निकलते हुए आप उनको करते हो. यू डोंट सी दैट ऑन रेगुलर ट्रेडिशनल, जो भी आप कह लो, जिस नाम से भी कह लो. एक ट्रेन का एक सीक्वेंस था जो हम रेवाड़ी में शूट कर रहे थे, और हमारे पास उसके वो 2 बार एक रात है, 6 घंटे 7 घंटे लगा लो आप, और उसके बीच में 2 ट्रेन्स जा रही हैं, तो वो ट्रेन वापस जाती है, यार्ड में वापस आती है. अब उसमें घोड़े हैं और वो सामान नीचे फेंक रहे हैं, तो एवरीबडी, कास्ट, डायरेक्टर, प्रोडक्शन मैनेजर, वो सब बोरियां वापस ऊपर अंदर डालते थे, फिर ट्रेन पीछे जाती थी, फिर इंक्लूडिंग अनुराग कश्यप, एवरीवन. तो देन यू सी द रिजल्ट ऑल्सो दैट वे.
Let me just say, first of all, I'm a big fan of everybody who's on this side of the panel. Love each and every one of them. Okay, you guys are in film school, right? I didn't go to film school. So for me, every day working in teams that actually, create content for streaming has been that experience because it's a neutralizer. Everyone becomes equal. And when we work on film sets, sometimes that kind of cinema has a certain kind of typicality, and everyone knows कि अच्छा एक बंदा dialogue बोलेगा फिर एक बंदा dialogue बोलेगा फिर ये करेगा. It's almost a little like everyone knows what's going to happen. But for me, what I really enjoy when I'm doing streaming is that I like when people just throw me off and do something that I couldn't expect, which again pushes me to do something that I don't expect myself to do. So for me, as a commercial mainstream actors के साथ ये होता है कि हम कुछ वक्त के बाद बोर हो जाते हैं क्योंकि हम वही एक फॉर्मेट में काम करते रहते हैं कि पता है कि अभी ये होगा, इतना ही हंसना है, इतना ही नीचे देखना है, इतना ही हिलना है, इससे ज़्यादा मत करना. So all ये जो हदें होती हैं सब मिट जाती हैं, and then you can actually play, which is what an actor hopes and wishes for.
Well, the success of the streaming sort of not ecosystem, but the success of the streaming revolution is that we have incredible actors like you, like all of you who are sort of working and creating these incredible shows. I also feel, and I'm constantly being told I need to wrap up, but I think the important thing also, which really we should acknowledge here, is that I feel like the first global star that we're going to have is probably going to come out of a streaming show or a streaming film, because the reach of streaming, we've always spoken about how theatrical films reach out to masses and that makes you the superstar, and all of that is true, of course. But that global footprint that we've been looking at, the footprint that streaming tends to bring is unparalleled. And this year Rocket Boys and Delhi Crime is nominated, and next year it'll be The Hard and something else. And I feel like we're just closer to creating that sort of global star, which has been eluding us for so long. So more power. Thank you for incredible performances. Vijay, you want to say something? You want to have the final word?
I just like the fact that you also detest the word OTT and you've been using streamers. What does OTT mean? It's over the top, is it?
It's over the top, which is so sad because that's exactly the opposite of how the other definition of OTT
Can we
is.
start calling it ATT, like at the top or something like that?
These are good words to end with. We should all call it streaming rather than OTT.
Yeah, just call it streaming. It doesn't matter. Right now, people are just very interested in watching good stories. Right now, as we speak, every film is a OTT film eventually. If you want to watch Pathan, you have to go watch it on. So it's okay. Let's not get crazy about tagging people into OTT actors and this and that. It's not going to help in the long run, and it'll come and bite us in our own. So let's call it ATT.
Good final words to end with. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you to this lovely panel. Thank you, guys.
Can we have special gift hampers for Tamannaah and Vijay from Smoor, while Chitrangda and Jaideep receive exquisite gifts from Special Choice. Sobhita and Milan sir get special hampers from Satwik. And I would ask Rajeev sir to do the honors. Thank you. Can we keep clapping for them till the time they get their exquisite, very, very specially curated gifts? Special plaques coming in. Rajeev sir, may I please request you to give some special plaques to our panelists as well.